On this premiere episode of Lift Your Future podcast, we're going to talk about failure and how failure is actually an opportunity to grow and become stronger in your life. Welcome to Lift Your Future, a podcast that teaches you coping skills through stories, methods, and proven techniques to improve relationships and outcomes in your personal and professional life. I'm Nicole Winkler, a licensed therapist and executive coach. On this podcast, we'll share relatable life experiences designed to help you grow. I will provide easy, practical ways to develop thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to impact your life, both personally and professionally. My goal is simple: to help you lift your future. Hello, and welcome to Lift Your Future. I'm Nicole Winkler. Today, we're going to talk about failure and how failure is actually an amazing opportunity for growth. I'm going to share some stories with you and some strategies that will help you anytime you may not have done the best you thought you could do, or you consider yourself having failed. At the end of this episode, I'm going to give you 3 strategies that I have used myself and I have given to other people that have worked for them when they feel like they haven't done their best. Please listen to the very end. What I want you to take away today is that failure is an opportunity. It is growth. Sometimes we don't grow as much as we could when we don't face our own failures. So I want you to take a minute and think about something that you haven't done your best at, or something you feel like you didn't get what you wanted. And I want you to keep that in mind as you continue to listen today. Many entrepreneurs actually fail at many businesses before they have a successful one. I was with my husband years and years ago after we had first met, and he was with some of his friends, and I was listening to a conversation he was having with a friend of his, and they were talking, I don't know which one of them said it, but they said, you know, there's many failed businesses. I've failed at many. They both had at that point, but it only takes one that's executed well to be successful. And that's something that stuck with me for many, many years. And it's so true. Many of the entrepreneurs I work with today have failed at something. And so I want you to take your failures and take those experiences with you into the future and learn from them. There's such an opportunity to grow through that experience. So one area that we can fail in life is with relationships. And that can be with our friendships, that can be romantic relationships, that can be family relationships. And I'm going to talk a little bit about all 3 of those. So with friendships, sometimes we outgrow a friendship. Sometimes we're not a very good friend and thought that we were at the time. Upon reflection years later, we figure out, oh, I probably didn't show up the best that I could have for that person. Something that comes to mind when I talk about friendships is addiction. And I worked as an addiction counselor for many years. And something that we would talk to clients about a lot was change your playground, change your playmates. Who are you hanging out with? Some of them might be really good friends to you. You guys have been through a lot of times together, hard times, good times, had fun together, been through literally shit together. But is that friend serving you now? Is that friendship helping you at this point in your life? Because those can be huge triggers for people trying to get sober, stay sober, and overcome their addiction. So sometimes those friendships are something that we feel like we failed at, but they served their purpose for the time that it was meant to be. Also, romantic relationships. Many of us have been in more than one romantic relationship in our life, and each and every time we learn something new about it. I actually dated a guy for 3.5 years, lived with him. It was not working. After about 3 months, we broke up. I moved out. I was heartbroken, but I knew that I would be okay because I had been through heartache before. So I knew, okay, right now, I know I'm really sad. I know this is really hard, but it's also something I know I'm going to get through and I'm going to be stronger because of it. I'm just not right now. And ironically, with that time of being single, that's the person I ended up marrying years later. We did get back together, but had we not broke up, we talk about this all the time. Had we not broke up and actually used that time to work on ourselves individually, it never would have worked. If we would have got married back then, had a family back then, we would be divorced, hands down today. So we needed that opportunity to really grow individually within ourselves. The next topic would be failed family relationships. This is something I'm pretty passionate about because not everybody that's family is necessarily healthy for us. And so that's a whole topic for a whole nother episode down the road. But family relationships can be hard, and just because they're family doesn't mean that they are healthy for you and the best person to have in your life. So really assessing those and knowing what boundaries need to be set as well. But it can come across as a failure in that relationship because we didn't work harder at it, or it didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to. And the reality is, in any relationship that is awesome and is growing, in any relationship that has past its time, we can learn from it. We can learn something and grow individually as a person. Communication. We communicate with people all day, every day. And I know I try to assess and reflect on the interactions I had throughout the day about where I could have asked a better question, where I could have listened more attentively, where I could have maybe kept my emotions in check instead of getting frustrated. And so, when I think on that and I'm talking about that, I'm reminded of a situation when I was at the store with my daughter and I went to buy this, it was like a pot and pan set or something, and it was listed for a certain price, but it actually wasn't that price. They had put it in the wrong place, and so they wouldn't price match it. I loved it. I loved the color. I wanted it. And so I was frustrated about that, and I didn't end up getting it, and I left. But I wasn't very kind to the person that I was talking to. And after I got in my car and I had calmed down for a couple seconds, I was extremely embarrassed by how I had acted because I had said, I don't understand your policy. Can you please explain your policy to me? And she really couldn't explain it. And maybe she didn't know it, to be quite honest. And upon reflection, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a completely failed opportunity, not only for me as a person, an individual, but also for my daughter and what she saw. So I sat in the parking lot and called the store, and I asked to speak to the gal I had spoke with, and I apologized to her, and I told her how sorry I was for not being kinder to her and understanding that she just might not know what the policy is, and that that's not for her to necessarily know, that I should have handled myself better in that situation. So that's an example of an opportunity that I had to grow through that, and I can report happily that I have not had anything like that happen since then. It was something I learned from, but it was also something that I really wanted my daughter to learn from as well. Another funny story about communication, actually that one wasn't very funny, but this one's funny. My best friend and I, we talk all the time. We're very, very close. We could complete each other's sentences. I know what she's thinking, and I will say it for her. Same thing with her. But we have a problem, and this happened on multiple occasions. We will plan to go somewhere for dinner or for lunch, and we live in different parts of town, but I always assume that we're going to the one that I go to, and she assumes that we're going to the one that she goes to. And we have literally showed up at different places, the same restaurant, but at different places on multiple occasions because we did not communicate with each other. So it's really important. I can't stress the importance of communication. That's, again, another topic in and of itself. But it even happened a few weeks ago. We were going to go to the Good Life here in Omaha, and I was going to drive to one. I had in my head I was going to drive to one, and she said, oh, the one on such and such street. I was like, oh, yes, I'm so glad you clarified that with me because this tends to happen with us. And we've been really good friends for a number of years. So just a funny story to tell you that you can improve your relationships and your communication, that even if we have a failed interaction, it's nobody's fault necessarily, but it is an opportunity and our responsibility, if we want to make that healthier, to follow up with that and grow with it. Another opportunity that we have to grow if we fail is in a job. Have you ever applied for a job and not got the job, or not even got a call back, or gone to an interview and never heard back from them? That's really discouraging, I think. I take that as pretty discouraging. And promotions are the same way. Have you ever applied for a promotion somewhere and not been considered for it, not even interviewed for it, or interviewed for it, and nowadays maybe 3 or 4 interviews in, and then don't get that position that you really, really wanted? That happened to me several years ago. I worked in retail, and I worked in retail for a number of years, and I applied for a leadership position and thought that it was the next natural step in my career there. I did not end up getting that position. I was disappointed and frustrated and didn't really know what I was going to do after that. But upon assessing that situation, I realized I didn't really want that job. I wasn't super happy working in retail. I was doing it because that's where I was and it paid fairly well and I was young in my career, but it wasn't really what made me super happy. Had that not happened, I would have never probably gone back to school for counseling to be a counselor, which is, it's my passion to help people and help people on a deep level. I probably would have never done that had I got that promotion. And so I'm super grateful that I didn't get that job that I really wanted. And that, so I viewed it as a failure initially, but upon reflection of it, especially now, and seeing how my life has turned out completely different, I'm so grateful for that. And sometimes we need that one person that tells us, no, this isn't right for you. And several entrepreneurs that I have worked with have actually told me they were fired from their job. And then they kind of decided at that point that they were going to start their own business, but they never probably would have, or it would have been years before they would have considered doing something like that prior to being terminated from a position. So looking at the silver lining and assessing what is in this opportunity for me. I know right now how I feel, and my feelings might be rational. They might be irrational, but feelings are feelings and they're real. They're not necessarily facts, but really assessing what is that opportunity here? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this and be a better coworker or apply for the next promotion and potentially get it? And it's always helpful too, especially in a promotional type situation, to go to the interviewer, go to the hiring person and say, what can I work on? I really want to be considered for this position down the road. What is it that I could work on? What happens when you fail at a goal that you set for yourself? New Year's Eve is coming up. It's December now. And so 2020 is coming. It's very fast approaching, people. What happens when you set your New Year's resolutions and you have all the best intentions? Because you don't set those goals. You don't set those resolutions thinking, I'm not going to do this or I'm going to fail at it. It's like, no, I'm really going to stick to it this year. And so I ask, like, what goals have you set for yourself that you haven't accomplished yet? And by not accomplishing it, does it mean all is lost? That I'm never going to try that again? It's not for me? Not necessarily. And so I want you to think about that. Keep that in mind as I talk about failing at a specific goal that you might have. So weight loss and diet are two of the most popular New Year's resolutions. Those are goals that we set for ourselves. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's reconnecting with someone. Maybe it's reflecting upon yourself and really getting to know yourself next year. Whatever that goal might be. Maybe it's a financial goal. Does that mean if I have a financial goal to save $6,000 next year, for example, and then by the end of June, I've only saved $1,000. Does that mean that I'm not capable of finishing that goal? Or maybe I need to revise that goal? But that doesn't mean I've failed. And I don't want it to come across that, okay, so I haven't done it, and now it means that I just can't do it. Another example is weightlifting or working out. The whole point to weightlifting is to push your muscles to the point of fatigue and literally breaking apart so they can grow back together and be stronger and get bigger. So I know when I go to leg day, I know it's a good leg day, great leg day, if I have to hold on to the railing when I leave the gym and walk down the stairs. That's the goal. I used to actually not want that. I didn't want that pain. I didn't view that in a positive light. And then somebody had said to me, no, that's actually a good thing. You want to feel that way. I was like, why? They said, you worked your muscles to the point of fatigue, to failure. Now they're going to grow back stronger. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And that is what I want. So why am I afraid of it? And it changed my entire perspective about lifting weights. And now I love it. I look forward to it. So what's the lesson here? That I pushed myself, I failed my muscles, and now my walking sticks are getting stronger. And I'm so excited about that. That's one of my goals, is to get stronger. Have you ever failed a class? I don't know, in high school, in college. I know I failed a class in college. I thought I wanted to be an accountant. And it turns out I'm not good at accounting at all. At all. I'm good at math, but accounting to me is a whole different world of math. I want to share a really personal story with you that happened recently, and that is about my classes that I'm taking. And I am in a doctoral program that's very rigorous, and it's hard. I have completed all the coursework. I passed my comprehensive exams in May. Oh, thank God. And now I'm writing a dissertation, which, part of me was dreading that part, but I was also looking forward to it. I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to grow a lot as a person. But also within that, it's kind of the downward slope of the program. And so I was really looking forward to that as well. And that's probably not the right mindset that I had going into it. So I was in a course this summer, Research Proposal 2. It's 8 weeks, and you work on Chapter 1, which is an introduction to the research. Chapter 2 is the literature review. And this is all new to me. I did not do research in my master's program, so I'm learning as I go as well a lot. And I was given a lot of feedback shortly before the course was over that I needed to add a lot more to my literature review, my Chapter 2. And so I was reading and writing and reading and writing, and my head was swimming with all this information. I was barely sleeping. I was not working out. I was eating Milk Duds, Reese's Pieces, and sunflower seeds, like literally living on that. And I'm talking copious amounts of sunflower seeds. And that was how I was living my entire summer. When it was finally all over, all was said and done, grades got posted. I got an 84% in the course. Well, in this program, an 84% is a B. Or I'm sorry, no, an 84% is a C. A B is 85% or more. 1 percentage point. Literally 1 percentage point away from passing the course. So a C is considered failing in the program. I didn't know what the next steps were. I didn't know if I had to apply for a new program, what would happen to all the research I'd already done, would I have to go through other coursework somewhere, would I have to take comprehensive exams again. There were a lot of unknowns, but I also knew that I felt extremely disappointed in myself. I was frustrated. I was sad. I was burned out. And I didn't realize until I did a lot of reflecting on it, which I did not do for 48 hours. I gave myself 48 hours to pout and be upset and be sad, especially over 1 percentage point. But at that point, I started to really assess, how has my life been the past 2 years I've been in this program? It's been incredibly busy. I knew that it would be, but it's been incredibly busy. I have missed things that my daughters have done. I haven't been able to go. At the summertime, I hadn't gone to the pool with them one time because I had to study. Every opportunity was a chance to study. After my girls went to bed, I would go to my office and I would work. I was reading, writing, and I would not stop until my eyes would just give out on me. I was going cross-eyed. That was really unhealthy for me. And I did not have good balance at all. And so the lesson that I learned through all of this was I needed that break. I would have never taken that break myself, but I needed that break more than I ever knew. I had zero self-care. I was like not in a great place about that. And I didn't even realize how bad it was until I wasn't in it for 2 full days. And I also realized I hadn't spent any time with my husband. Thank goodness I don't have a needy husband at all. But, even somebody who's not like somebody who wants connection. That's important. I want connection. I need that. I hadn't slept in our bed in months because I was studying every night and I'd fall asleep wherever I was. Maybe I was on the couch for a change of scenery. Maybe I was in my office and I would fall asleep on the floor. But I realized I needed that. And I would have never forced that upon myself. And my instructor, I think, knew I was at that point. My professor did. And she, did not give me the 85%, 1 percentage point more so I could go on, because she probably saw in me that I needed it more than I would have ever seen in myself. So the lesson was, sometimes you don't know why something happens, but when you reflect upon it and you give yourself enough time and give that energy to it and really sort it out, you figure out that failure was not a failure at all. It was such an opportunity to grow. So now when I am able to go back in, which moral of the story is, I do get to go back. I have to wait till that course is offered again, and it's not offered again until next summer. So I'll start classes again in May. I now have 9 months of a break, but I can slowly work on that lit review, which is really the heart of the research paper anyway. I have 9 months to work on that at my own pace. I get sleep now. I'm exercising again, spending time with my kids, doing things, that I probably wouldn't have done. It's silly things, but it's important to them. Come outside and swing on the swing set with us. Let's go have a running challenge and run up that hill. Let's go for a walk down the street, where before I'd say, oh, maybe Daddy can go with you, or no, we can't do that today. I'm going to have to schedule it next week. Maybe I didn't tell them I had to schedule it next week, but that's how I was thinking was, all right, I have to schedule all my time with them. And kids don't necessarily, that doesn't work with kids. And I get that. And so I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to spend more time with my family and have the holidays again and go through all this and come in with a fresh mindset, have a self-care routine. I'm going into it now knowing the burnout that I was at and what my behavior and my warning signs are for my burnout. And now I can go into it with a plan in place for that. I can adjust that plan and then finish out the rest of my doctoral studies. I literally would not be here hosting this podcast with you had I not failed that summer class. So it opened up an opportunity for me to do this. And this is something I've wanted to do for a number of years. And I'm so excited. I can't even explain through words how excited I am for this. So what is something that you have failed at? What's something that you are reflecting on right now that resonates with you? And I want to share a lesson from a time that I worked with inmates in a correctional facility. I did that for several years. And a lesson I learned in there was many of my clients thought that losing their freedom was the ultimate failure at life. And we would process that and we would talk through it. And over the years, I came to develop a strategy, kind of a pep talk, so to speak, every time I would have a new class come in. And I would say, when else in your life do you get an opportunity, a time out to work on yourself, to really figure out why you are the way that you are? Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I hurt the people that I love? This is your opportunity. This is your time out to learn how to live differently, learn how to think differently, learn how to behave differently, and learn your feelings and what those actually mean and are alerting you to. That is a beautiful opportunity. So I don't view somebody going to jail or going to prison as, it is obviously it's a punishment, and I understand that. But I view it for them as an opportunity to learn and to grow. And so I want to bring that lesson to you as well in this podcast, because anything that you go through can be viewed as an opportunity. And I'm so proud of you to assess that. I do want to give you 3 strategies before we go today that you can use in your life. And the first one is reflection. Reflect on what happened. Take that time. Maybe that's with another friend. Maybe that's with a family member. Maybe that's journaling. Maybe you video yourself talking about it and then watch it later, and that helps you process it. But reflect upon that. What did I learn? What could I have done differently? What is the opportunity here for me to formulate a plan so I can execute that next time I'm faced with something that's difficult? Because that's a guarantee in life. We are going to be faced with difficult situations, and some are in our control and some are completely out of our control. So really reflecting upon that. Give yourself time. I give myself 48 hours. I shared with that story with you earlier. Sometimes it's 24 hours. Sometimes it's 48 hours. For really, really big life events that happen, it could be several weeks or months. But give yourself time to feel what you feel. That doesn't mean that we act that way. We don't act out our emotions, especially if they're not our favorite emotions. But feel what we feel. Recognize that they're rational or irrational, and process through those. Give yourself that time. Time is important as well. But I'm not talking time where you cover it up. Where you cover it up and I'm not going to deal with that. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. That's not processing. That's not going to help you find the opportunity in it. I want you to really kind of give yourself that time to pout, stomp around, throw your tantrum, not at anybody, but for yourself, and then get to work on it. And the third one is to talk to somebody that you trust, whether that be a person in your life, if you're lucky enough to have somebody that you truly trust that is open-minded and lets you just bounce ideas off of them. But this person has to also challenge you and challenge your thinking and your behaviors. It's very important to have people in our lives that can say, you're saying this, but you're doing that. And so if you don't have somebody, which is totally fine, if you don't have somebody like that in your life, get a counselor, get a coach. If it's a coaching situation, that would help. Get someone, and it could be a brief amount of time that you need that. I've seen people come to therapy for 3 sessions and they are like, awesome, this was so helpful, thank you so much. And they're done. And that is wonderful. And maybe it isn't 3 sessions. Maybe it's a longer amount of time. There's no prescription for that. So whatever you need as a person, that's what I want you to do. And those are the 3 strategies that I would give to you to help you through any failure that you've had in your life. Once again, thank you so much for listening today. I'm so grateful. I'm Nicole Winkler, and I will see you next time.